So we all know the basic premise of Battle Royale at this point. 20 to 100 people drop into a map or start in a cornucopia, search for supplies and are pitted against each other until one is crowned winner. It's an incredibly simple concept, which is probably why so many people have gravitated towards games like PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds and Fortnite recently. But no, that's not enough. Every franchise needs a Battle Royale mode. Call of Duty, Battlefield, Red Dead Redemption 2, Destiny. They all need one. Why? Money. That's why. So I wanted to go over a few ideas I've been sitting on which transition game mechanics from the aforementioned franchises into a Battle Royale style mode while also making sense within the confines of each game's universe. I've made it quite clear in my Destiny videos that I value continuity and consistency in my games. Granted, the Battle Royale concept usually doesn't lend itself to unique and varied stories. However, most people use the term story and lore interchangeably, when in reality they mean two separate things in the realm of storytelling. Story can be simplified as the now, the events that transpire in front of you or the main character, while lore is the legends, the folktales, what happened last summer, that's lore. So for this we'll be mainly focusing on the lore behind these modes unless stated otherwise. But shockingly, The Division from 2016 does a great job of contextualizing both the Dark Zone and Survival from the DLC of the same name. I won't go that deep into the story of each mode, but I'll basically sum up Survival as a race to retrieve experimental antivirals from the Dark Zone before one of multiple enemy parties or players can. It's simple, but gives enough breathing room for the player to fill in the story dots themselves. See? Story within Battle Royale can be done. So let's start with Call of Duty. The Chinese exclusive COD Online actually got a Battle Royale mode last November, and from what I can gather, it's Battle Royale on a stretched out COD map. So let's work on contextualizing the mode within the probable time frame of the next game, which is rumoured to be a modern-ish day Black Ops 4. There's a few ways that come to mind when contextualizing a Battle Royale mode within Black Ops' specific universe. One being a combat simulation, a rough precursor to the simulation that eventually becomes Black Ops 3's multiplayer, or maybe tie it into the clusterfuck known as the aforementioned game's campaign. Of course, people would throw themselves at a zombie tie-in to Battle Royale, however, since we're supposed to be starting a new chapter within zombies with Black Ops 4, I'd rather do something standalone like the Nightmare campaign from Black Ops 3. Though thinking on it more, I'd love to see a Battle Royale / Graveyard mode set upon the Shattered Earth from Black Ops 2, where other players are mixed in with zombies, denizens, and maybe a boss zombie like the Avogadro. Stealth could be a viable option and the map could be a full-fledged version of Transit. Now that would be cool. Not sure how it would end, since by the time of Die Rise, Victus are the only humans left on the planet, but hey, you write your own fanfiction. If there's a series that can pull off squad-focused Battle Royale, it's Battlefield. Sadly, we have no clue at the point of this video's release what time period the next Battlefield will take place in. Vietnam would be nice, modern day seems the most likely, maybe World War II, but personally I'm hoping for 2143, the future. It was teased with the Last Stand DLC for Battlefield 4, and boy, I'd love to see the world of 2142 with modern technology. But back to Battle Royale. 2142 didn't have a campaign per se, but the lore behind it all was pretty simple. Basically, the world had reached a tipping point by 2106 as climate change has led to a new ice age, causing conflict between the US alliance and Russia. A Battle Royale could take place within the frigid wastes of an abandoned city like New York, Moscow, or London, with a crashed Titan in the center of the map. For gameplay, I'd love for DICE to really emphasize the squad aspects of Battlefield, to maybe even go as far as making it squad only. However, unlike a normal game of Battlefield, you don't get to choose your class before the game starts. Maybe you find parts of different classes throughout the map, like you find defibs and they allow you to instantly revive someone from a down state. Maybe you only have a certain amount of charges to balance it out. Maybe you find a medkit or ammo box, but instead of having infinite uses like in multiplayer, you have to tactfully choose where to drop it down with your squad, and of course people can always target and destroy that piece of equipment. Have a teammate provide overwatch with a MAV drone while you sweep the innards of a building. The ability to use vehicles like tanks and helicopters is a tough balancing act to follow on. If I were to balance, let's say, a tank, I'd make the vehicle require the full manpower of the squad using it, meaning if one person isn't in the tank or just not playing their part, the whole team suffers. A repair tool would be needed for obvious reasons, but only has a certain amount of charge. Munitions would be limited, and of course you wouldn't be able to instantly jump in and out of the tank for cover. Like I said at the beginning of this section, Battlefield really does have a lot of untapped potential when it comes to a Battle Royale mode, and if DICE were to follow through on the rumours, I'd hope they'd take at least some of these ideas into testing. And with that, we are done.
You're not done, you haven't talked about...
No, I'm not talking about that game. I'm taking a break.
Come on, please.
No, I'm waiting for Rough Road Part 3.
Please.
Promise me this will be the last time till September. Well?
Yes.
Fine, I'll do it.
Not a chance.
Excuse me, what? Okay, fine, I'll talk about Destiny. I swear to God, I'm in a time loop. So, Destiny is a first-person action non-RPG, a loot and shoot, to be layman about it. So any corner of the game should tie back into the main gameplay loop and, well, reward loot. There are two ways I see of doing this, one being just do Battle Royale with a Destiny twist, rewarding players justly for their performance like in Survival and contextualize it as a new training exercise within the Crucible. However, I have a less conventional secondary idea I'd like to reinforce, since I'm not the first one to pitch this. Remember the Dark Zone from The Division? Well, it's usually categorized into a subgenre known as Graveyard PvP, and I'd love to see Bungie have a go at the concept. Before Destiny 2 came out, my prime candidate for a Graveyard mode location was the European Dead Zone because it fits the role perfectly with its name alone. I imagine it to be the reverse of what we got in Destiny 2, less scenic views over water from old German towns, less Cabal bases, and just looking like a larger version of the Dark Forest. Dead trees, hive and Taken influence spreading, with Fallen scurrying about the decaying structures that remain. Now that Destiny 2 is a thing, however, the EDZ is somewhat out of the equation, and I have no solid replacement for it, though happily feel free to leave your suggestions in the comments below. I'm just going to continue on the preconception that it would be the EDZ just to make it easier on myself. Lore-wise, it will be similar to Destiny 2, a Shadow the Traveler corrupting its surroundings, making it a prime location for the Hive, Taken and Fallen to make refuge. The Shadows also gain the attention of the infamous Shadows of Yore, a group of guardians banished from the city for their troubling connection to the quote-unquote darkness. In recent years, people have been known to travel into the EDZ looking for rare weapons and armor, some returning with reports of guardians turning on each other, believing the corruption from the land is to blame, along with supposed sightings of the Shadows of Yore dealing with Hive and Taken magic. Obviously, beyond in-game context, you'd have to follow some guidelines to make it a fair, fun but challenging experience that people would actually want to play. Multiple entrances / landing zones for people to enter and a large enough map to accommodate so spawn killing doesn't become an issue. Key locations like abandoned buildings and cave systems which house loot caches and enemy AI to grind and fight. Dead ghosts could return as a collectible, giving context to the environment and telling the stories of guardians lost in the dead zone. Once someone has gathered all the loot they want or can carry, they'll need to make their way to one of many forest clearings, which would act as extraction zones like in The Division. The more and rarer the gear they have, however, the longer it will take for their ship to arrive and extract their gear. Calling an extraction gains the attention of nearby AI, which you'd have to fend off. Once 1 minute remains before extraction, other players would then be notified of the act of clearing, giving them a choice to try and take your loot. To avoid groups of 4 running around killing people, actively match people on the size of their party. 4s are matched against other 4s and 3s, while solos are matched with other solos. Duos, I've got no idea. But that's how I'd implement a Graveyard mode into Destiny. Granted, it's closer to the Dark Zone than I first thought it would be, but with Destiny's drastically different sandbox plus the changes to the extraction system, I think it's original enough to stand on its own. If Fortnite and PUBG can coexist, I don't see why Destiny can't take some cues from the games around it and implement them to make a better experience. Now leave me alone till September.
Okay, fine.